Evening, everybody. I am going to call to order at 6:02 p.m. the Town Council public hearing on September 2nd, 2026 in the Town Hall Council chambers. To order with roll call, please.
Yep. Councilor Allegro?
Here.
Mayor Sakala?
Here.
Mayor Crissati?
Here, Counselor.
Counselor, I'm sorry. You know, I did exactly what I was, okay. Councilor Hall?
Here.
Councilor Mangini?
Here.
Councilor Matthews?
Here.
Councilor Pisner?
Here.
Councilor Santinella? Here. Or Deputy Mayor Santinella. Councilor Thomas?
Here.
Councilor Ungary is absent, and Councilor Zanoni?
Here.
10 present, 1 absent.
Steve is our assistant town manager,
everything
acting
tonight.
town manager, town clerk, and anything else tonight that we need him to do. So we're going to go easy on him.
Go easy, please.
All right, number 3 is the legal notice and ground rules. Public hearing ground rules. The following public notice of public hearing was published in the Journal Enquirer on Thursday, August 27th, 2026. Town of Enfield legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Town of Enfield shall hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, Wednesday, September 2nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. to allow public comment on the proposed appropriation of $511 million for the new construction of Hazardville Memorial School, Prudence Crandall Elementary School, Parkman Elementary School, Barnard Elementary School, and for the conversion of Eli Whitney Elementary School into the Eagle Academy Therapeutic Day School, and to authorize the issuance of bonds or notes of the town in the amount not to exceed $89 million, with the balance funded by grants and other available funds. Dated the 26th of August, 2026, by Sheila Bailey, Town Clerk. All right, I'm going to go over the ground rules. A sign-in sheet has been provided. Speakers will be called in the order they sign up, and we may permit a presentation prior to public comment should we choose. Only Enfield residents or Enfield taxpayers may address the council. Speakers shall limit their comments to items on the public hearing notice only. All speakers will limit their remarks to 3 minutes, except persons providing the council with a group authorized position on an issue. They may speak up to 5 minutes. Speakers may not yield their time to others, and the council may, by majority vote, allow speakers who have already spoken an additional 3 minutes to speak. Okay. So we have the sign-up sheet. If you have not signed up and you just got here and you want to speak, I'm sure there are additional sign-up sheets over there, but I am going to go in order of those signed up. So when I call your name, come on up and just make sure you say your name and your address before starting. John Malinowski.
I guess this is turned on, huh?
If it's lit up red, it is. Yep.
Okay. All right. John Malinowski, 1302 Bigelow Commons. I'm here to speak about the need to modernize Enfield's elementary schools. Enfield's elementary schools are in poor condition, and some have been described as being in dire straits. Just one example is Hazardville Memorial. I drive by that school quite often, and when I do so, I see the visible rust on the building. Imagine a teacher seeing that every day. Imagine a student or parent looking at the condition of the school. This goes far beyond putting on a fresh coat of paint. Maintenance isn't simply about making the outside of a building look better. When infrastructure and building systems are old, deteriorating, or beyond practical repair, the students and teachers are the ones who have to live with those conditions every day. And the learning environment matters. When students and teachers spend their days in facilities that are outdated, neglected, or substandard, it affects morale, motivation, and engagement. A school building also sends a message about how much we value the people inside. I attended my niece's graduation at Hazardville Memorial 20 years ago, And I remember sitting in that auditorium feeling like I was in a steam bath. I've also voted at Enfield Street School, which was built in 1954. The parking lot may be new, but the building and its facilities clearly show their age. At some point, we have to recognize that change is necessary. Our students deserve schools that teachers, parents, students, and the community can be proud of. In my opinion, the elementary schools have reached the point where they have outlived their usefulness. The question before us is what kind of learning environment we want to provide for the children of Enfield and what we are willing to do to provide it. Please vote yes on the school referendum. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Amanda Pickett.
Amanda Pickett, Guild Street. Thank you for allowing another opportunity for us to speak on this important matter. Tonight, I want to emphasize that this decision is about responsible decision making. One of the most important life skills that we can teach our students is how we make informed decisions, how we understand facts, how we listen to different perspectives, how we consider the needs in front of us, and use logic, facts, and evidence to determine the best path forward. I believe we need to approach this referendum in the same way. When we look honestly at the conditions and the needs of our schools, the cost of continuing to maintain those aging buildings, and the state reimbursement that's now available to us, the plan before us is most cost-effective and is what betters our community. Even people who were once opposed, who sat here at the last hearing, came up to share that they now understand the facts and have come to support this referendum. That matters. For me, this has always been about one thing: what's best for our kids. This plan gives our students better schools, addresses critical needs, provides our community with the best long-term value for the investment that we can make. This is responsible decision-making, and that's what I believe we owe our kids and our community. So vote yes.
Thank you. Kelsey McGuire Bruce.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight in support of the referendum to modernize and rebuild our elementary schools. I understand that hearing a $511 million price tag can be overwhelming, but it's important to understand that through the state reimbursement plan, Enfield's share is less than 20%, or approximately $89 million. This is an opportunity to use that support to address a need that isn't going away, and that need is our schools. Our elementary buildings are aging, and the problems are becoming too significant to continue to address with Band-Aids. At some point, constantly repairing old infrastructure is no longer the best long-term solution. Our children deserve schools that are safe, modern, and designed for the way they learn today. Education has changed, and our buildings need to support collaboration, technology, flexibility, and new teaching methods. There's also a bigger picture. If we want to continue attracting young families and new residents to Enfield, we need schools that people are proud of, schools that are safe, attractive, and built for the future. Bringing students together from pre-K to 5 also provides greater continuity, fewer transitions, and a stronger sense of community. This referendum isn't simply about replacing old buildings, it's about investing in our children and the future of Enfield. We can continue putting Band-Aids on aging schools, or we can take advantage of the state funding available to us and build schools that will serve our community for generations. At the end of the day, this is more than bricks and mortar. It's about our children, our families, and the future of Enfield. We have an opportunity to leave our community better than we found it. I believe this referendum is an investment worth making. Thank you.
Thank you. So I only had three people sign up on the public hearing sheet. I don't know if there is anyone else in the audience who has not signed up who is looking to speak for the first time. If you are, you can just raise your hand. All right. And has anybody who's already spoken feel the need to speak a second time? Going once? Going twice? All right. I am going to declare the public hearing closed. at 6:12. So our meeting starts at 6:15 or right after, if it was past 6:15 after this public hearing was done. So we will start in a couple of minutes. Okay? Thank you. It is 6:16. I am going to call the special meeting of the Town Council on this September 2nd, 2026 in the Town Hall Council Chambers to order. Number 1 on the agenda is roll call, please.
Councilor Allegro.
Here.
Mayor Sakala.
Here.
Councilor Crisati.
Here.
Councilor Hall.
Here.
Councilor Mangini.
Here.
Councilor Matthews.
Here.
Councilor Pisnar.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Santinella. Councilor Thomas.
Here.
Councilor Ungary is absent. Councilor Zanoni.
Here.
10 members present, 1 absent.
Thank you. All right. Old business number 2A, resolution to appropriate $511 million for the reconstruction. Oh, man, every time. Sorry, guys. Number 2 on the agenda, old business A, Resolution to appropriate $511,000 for the new construction of Hazardville Memorial Elementary School, Prudence Crandall Elementary School, Parkman Elementary School, Barnard Elementary School, and for the conversion of Eli Whitney Elementary School into the Eagle Academy Therapeutic Day School, and to authorize the issuance of bonds or notes of the town in the amount not to exceed $89 million, with the balance funded by grants and other funds. And it was tabled 8/24/2026. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved. Point of order, Madam Mayor. I know you meant $511 million.
Did I say 1,000?
You said 1,000.
$511 million, my
Just
bad.
for the record.
Thank you for that.
And
500
second.
So motion made and seconded. Actually, so I need to,
Move to waive the reading?
yeah, thank you. Now we do. Motion made to waive the reading was made
Second.
and seconded. All in favor of waiving the reading? 1, 2, 3, all right, 10 in favor and none against. Thank you very much. So I did waive the reading, but now I'm going to need a motion to approve the resolution, please.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
And
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All right, any discussion on this resolution, which is 2A? Go ahead, Counselor Pisner.
Okay, thank you. So first I want to go on the record saying this. I've been in support of this since day one, and I haven't changed my mind. However, the only thing I'm questioning is the $89 million. Because on November 3rd, without all 4 of those space waivers, the number's $115 million. So, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But according to the numbers that we've been given, that I've asked for, and so this is my question through the mayor to our bond counsel. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Sure, you bet.
So, and I only want to do this to clarify it. So if we're taking to the voters on November 3rd, no more than $89 million, as of November 3rd, without the 2 space waivers, the other 2 space waivers, the number is larger. Now, I believe people are going to vote for it whether it's 89 or 115. But I do think we need to be clear. Now, that's not saying that we're not going to get the space waivers next year. But going to the polls, that's not the number. So that's where I need clarification. I'm confused on it.
So, as bond counsel, I believe we received the numbers. I mean, obviously, there's the larger number, the appropriation, and the smaller number to bond, with the balance to be funded from other sources. I believe the former town manager, Matt Koppler, had provided that number. So in accordance with this resolution, I can say, well, I can't speak to how the number came about because we don't typically get involved in that portion of it. Section 2 of the resolution allows the town to bond up to $89 million to borrow, and then the balance is using other federal, state, or other grants and aid, other monies, etc. So the spend seems to be high enough, right? You're just questioning whether you'd want to bond a higher amount. Is that right?
No. So the 89 was with 4 space waivers. That's where that number came up from. That's what I always understood. We were not able to get 2 of those space waivers. So if we are going in to renovate now all of those schools, and we don't get those other 2 space waivers, the number is going to be larger. And that's the only question I have. I know people are saying no, so then somebody needs to explain to me what I'm missing.
Are you all set with bond counsel? Because I can.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. So she answered that if it's 89 million on the question, it can't be more than 89 million that we bond, right? I just want to make sure.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So for the second part, I guess, of your question, I'll have Randy, you can come up, Jeff, Chris, you guys can come up. Even, I don't know if John Wilcox wants to come up, but I think this has been covered before, but I want Marie to have her answers, so.
Well, it's not just for me, Jean, it's honestly.
Okay, well, no, that's fine, but you asked the question, so I want to make sure you get your answer. And John can actually help, and Carol might be able to help as well. So I don't know if anybody directly wants to answer her questions, or you want me to start with John for the space waiver piece? Go ahead.
Go ahead. You have the
Okay, so Jeff Wazinski, principal at Tecton Architects. I will attempt to give clarification to the $89 million. The $89 million is the same number, same total project cost number that was presented at our last community conversation number 3. There was an effort to seek relief from the allowable areas for each of the buildings. All 5 projects were seeking relief from the allowable area from the state, and 2 of the 5 received it through special legislation. The grants were submitted in June of 2026, so that locks in your reimbursement rate for 2026, right? So there's also been some questions. So that base reimbursement that we utilized in all of the projections was 70%. And then, of course, 4 of the 5 projects were pre-K to 5. That gets you the additional 15%. So that's how we started getting to the numbers, which led you to the $89 million. So you are correct in that we assumed that all 5 projects would receive relief from the allowable area so that you can maximize your reimbursement. And the path that the projects traveled, 2 of those have been received and approved. We were informed that the other ones would be next session. Schedule-wise, just to keep things in context, schedule-wise, all 5 of these projects are going to be delivered in 2 phases over about 7 or 8 years. So that is, I think, the key piece to communicating to you folks and to the community that there is time to either continue to seek the relief for the allowable area or the special legislation this next legislative session, or you can, as an alternative option, the state has revised their space waiver form, and you can submit that to the to OGA, and the commissioner has the right to approve that through their office. So there's a couple different avenues to get you to back to the maximizing the reimbursement. But also, to be clear, the reimbursements that we put together and the percentages and the calculations were based on historical experience, and also didn't also include things like the additional increase for the specialized education space in each of these buildings, which yields to about an additional 2% to your reimbursement. We didn't include that. We deducted 2.5% from your reimbursement calculation for something that's called ineligibles. So anything basically off of the property, the state's not going to reimburse you. So there's about a half a dozen different variables in the reimbursement, and we're not trying to hit the high mark. We're not trying to hit the low mark as far as reimbursement. We're trying to kind of hit the middle mark for reimbursement and propose in a very transparent way throughout this entire process a reasonable expectation for the reimbursement rate. And that's what all those calculations were completed on. So there's many, many different avenues to travel to seek the relief on the allowable area, which ultimately increases your reimbursement rate. And I would encourage, I think, everybody in the community to look at the overall schedule, because there's time before dollars are spent. Certainly before, just because you have a grant approval doesn't mean that you have to do the project. There's been plenty of projects where I went through this entire process and they've sat until there was clarity. So I'm not suggesting that's an avenue, but there's time to seek clarity to the remaining amounts so that it gives surety. What's important to the community is that when you submit the grant applications, which we have in June of 2026, you have to, the community has to show the support, financial support, in order to get approval from the state. And if the community decides not to support that grant, then you have to refile the entire grant application in subsequent years. And just as a point of reference, the 2027 rates, base rates for your community, for all communities in Connecticut, have already been published, and Enfield's went down about 1.5 points. So instead of a base reimbursement of 70, you're at a base reimbursement of 68.5. So I think there's many different mechanisms built in to protect the community and to give some assurances. But from a planning perspective, because we're the folks, along with the committee and conversations with the community, we're the folks that put these numbers together. We weren't over analyzing and expecting the highest reimbursement, nor were we expecting the lowest. So we think it's a responsible approach that has many different gateways to give. I think surety is what I heard a lot during the community conversations. We went through a whole process about, when does that rate lock in? And we gave you clarity to that in all of the community conversations. So I hope and trust that this process that we went through gives you reason to, that's how we landed where we were. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded. I just wanted to give you the background. Happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you.
I just want to expand on one of the pieces that Jeff mentioned. So yes, these grants were submitted all in June. Assuming the referendum passes in November, the process will continue with the grants, and we will get approval letters for those in July, okay? There's a statement in that approval letter that says from the date of that approval letter in July, you have 2 years to start construction. Now that actually gives you 3 more opportunities, 3 more legislative sessions before you have to put a shovel in the ground to get those space waivers approved. 3 years, because next July, when you receive the approval letters for the grants that are already submitted, are actually after the next legislative session. So you can get the space waivers approved for those 3 projects before you actually get the grant commitment letters. So there's still plenty of time. One of the other options, if it doesn't happen in those 3 years, is to go for special legislation or to appeal to the commissioner and ask for an extension of the construction start. So if you're not getting those space waivers for whatever reason, you don't have to start these projects. Yes, you can do some upfront work. You can do all the design work so that is out of the way. That's a fraction of the total project cost of each one of those projects. Not to downplay Jeff, but it is, and that's a small amount that you can put forward so that when those space waivers do get approved, you're then ready to start the construction project. So there are many options here to deal with this. Yes, you are correct. We only have 2 out of the 3. We need 5. We need the 5th one is for the Eagle Academy, because that is, but again, that one in and of itself, there, as Jeff mentioned before, the special education space within each building is it's eligible for an additional 15% reimbursement on that space. Now, again, the state has not clarified in some time how to calculate that space. We've gone ahead and made an assumption and made a very good educated assumption on what that space is, what that allocation is, the square footage. And as Jeff said, it's about 2%, give or take. Eagle Academy, that applies to the whole project because that whole project is dedicated special ed space. So that 15% is on top of the 70 for the entire project. So it's hard to just say that the 89 is not correct because there's so many variables. Again, the most educated approach we could present to you as the council is saying the 89 million. Again, it's not, we're not trying to discount the fact that we haven't gotten them, and we're not trying to proceed like we're never going to get them. We're trying to proceed like the most responsible and reasonable approach to the taxpayers here in Enfield is that you're going to get them. And in all likelihood, again, based on the other incentives and increased reimbursements, it's going to be even lower than the 89%. But we can't project that because we still need, there's still clarification from the state that we haven't received. So we can't actually give you that projection. We can just say that based on what we've done in the past, and we've been doing this for a long time, we're confident that the 89 million is a responsible number to present.
Thank you. Did you have additional? Okay. Okay. Anything else? You said you had a couple of questions. No, I'm good. You're good? Okay. Any additional? You want to go, Deputy Mayor?
Yep. So let me just make a comment because we asked this year in the legislative session for waivers for all 5 buildings. Okay. The total ask in the school construction bond bill was somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 million. And the town of Enfield was asking for 20% of all of it. It wasn't that there was not a desire to give us money for all 5 buildings. The concern, and rightfully so, is that we weren't going to bond this year for buildings that we aren't going to even put a shovel in the ground for 8 more years when other cities and towns are ready to go next year. So that's why we don't have the money approved today for 5 buildings. That's Councilor Pisner's question is a legitimate, simple question. What if we don't get the money? That's her question. And the answer to the question is, we didn't get it all right now for the reason I just gave you. And the second thing is, when has a school not been given a space waiver? Just tell me when you've worked on a project where a school construction project has not been given the space waiver.
I haven't.
Okay, so it's never happened, and somehow we're going to try to convince people that it could possibly happen right here in Enfield. That is not happened, and I think that she has a very legitimate concern because it's taxpayer money. The answer is it's never happened before, and the reason why we didn't get it all up front is because we have a 10-year project, and we've gotten the go-ahead for the first part of it. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. And the other piece of this is the likelihood that it's going to be less than the $89 million is because the housing bill reimbursement is not factored into this. That is an additional 5% and a total of $25 million additional dollars off of this project when we get that project. And we have no reason to believe, based on the criteria, we have a transit-oriented district. We have an agreement with MRTA, whatever now MRTA has now transformed into. We have met the criteria. So we have every reason to expect that we would get that additional 5%. but we aren't putting that in to our assumptions.
Correct.
So, and the reason that we didn't get it this time is because the due date for our application was June 30th. And the housing bill didn't go into effect until July 1st. So effectively, we were missing the opportunity by 1 day. And because of that, we submitted early and we'll go back to ask for the 1 day exception. Right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional comments? Go ahead, Councillor Hall.
I don't have any comments for you guys, so this is going to go more towards, through the mayor to our financial director. We were, as a council, all emailed a sheet of information on what the impact to the mill rate would be over the course of many years, and it was broken down for us. And I'd be happy to ask, through the mayor, to the financial director, the chart that was given to us, John, were these numbers based on this year's mill rate or last year's mill rate? Because I'm not sure of the timing of this flow chart.
So that calculation is not, it's based on the value of 1 mil.
Right.
So you back into so you take the total cost per
Okay.
year of the project.
I gotcha.
Divided by the cost, the value of
project
1 mil.
itself.
And that gives you the mill.
For the 89 million.
Right.
That the town's cost would be.
Right.
Okay, so in the past, and I mentioned this to Matt, and I don't know if he actually asked you, John, but in the past, we've put up a really helpful tool on our website, and I can't tell you which referendum it was for. I don't know if it's the high school or the junior high, but it was helpful because what the taxpayer could do was they could take their assessment for their house and plug it into the tool, and it would actually give you what the impact to you personally was. And it was, I don't know which referendum it was, but it was on our website, and it was helpful to the taxpayer. Because one of the things we heard at the last hearing, you guys weren't at, I think Randy was here, but people were asking for information. So to kind of clarify and give folks a really good idea of what the impact would be on their assessment, I think it would be great to have the ability to have that tool. Because, I mean, we can put up this chart, and just for the folks at home that are watching, this chart really doesn't start till 2029, which makes sense because of the construction time that we're looking at. So the mill rate impact starts in 2029 on the sheet that John provided for us. And basically it was based on a market value home of $325,000 and an assessed value of $227,500. So I don't know where we're going to find a $325,000 house anymore in Enfield, but that's what this was based on. So what I'd like to see is at least, if not this chart, a tool put up so the general public can be well informed on what this project is costing them or projected to cost them based on the 89 million that we're looking to bond. And just for an example for folks that are watching, the first year, of course, is very low. It's 2029. It's the initial bonding, and it's the first year. It's like $61.43. And then if you go 2 years later, you're up to $557 a year. And that's for this project. So not any of the other mill increases for any of the other bonding money that's still out there, but just this project. So I think it's important to put these numbers out so people can understand what they're voting for. I'd love to see the tool to make it a little more personal for each individual household. But I think it just goes to educating the voter. I don't think there's anybody in this room that does not know these schools need renovating. I don't think there is anybody up here that would argue that point. I have to say I took a little umbrage with some of the statements that were made by committee members at the last hearing. And I think everybody in this room is super supportive of projects and have been over the years. We've passed junior high projects that I was involved in. We passed high school projects that I was involved in. And as far back as the elementary school projects that we renovated back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I don't think anybody that's out there doesn't understand the need to renovate these schools. I think the process we have is a good one. We let the voters decide if this is the right project and the right cost for them individually. And they get to make that determination. And I'm here to support that effort. I want to thank the committee for all the hard work they've done to get us to this point. And now it's in the hands of the voter, and the voter will get to decide if this is the right size fit for their budgets or if it's not. And we've had referendums fail. We had JFK fail first, and then we went back and it passed the second time. So I think it's important to put out there that the information, the facts, and let the voter decide. And I think we all agree that the renovations to our schools needs to happen. And I'm going to support pushing these out tonight. I appreciate all the hard work that was done on this, and it's up to the voters to decide now. So that's where I am.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Hall. Deputy Mayor Santinella?
Okay, so I want to be clear. If we're going to put a tool up that's going to help people understand what this is going to cost, what this program is going to cost, we should also put up the cost of not doing this program and how much we're going to be spending by not getting state reimbursements and trying to fix the buildings as they are, because that's the alternative. And I would like people to see that cost, because if they're panicking over $500 10 years from now, they're going to be really panicking when they find out how much that's going to cost without these reimbursements and the incentives that these guys are talking about. Because we can't have it both ways. We can't have it one way without the other. That's the choice, and that's the question that's going before the voters. Do we take advantage of all these incentives and do this project with this level of reimbursement, 80, potentially 85% reimbursement, or spend a couple $100 million with 30% reimbursement? Do that math. If we're going to do one, we're going to do the other. We're not going to just put this up and have somebody say, I'm not spending $518, when the alternative is $2,000. That's the comparison. That's the choice. So I think if we're going to do that, and we want to give people the information, they need to know the alternative as well as this plan. So I'm all for that, but let's put both sides of the story out there. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Zanoni, did you have your hand up?
I did. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just a few things. So first, the paper that's in front of us is at the $89 million number, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so just adding on to the Deputy Mayor's point, I also think it'll be beneficial because we recognize that could be, in many cases, based on our understanding of the space waivers, the worst case scenario, but we can get down to 55. So in the tool, if it's going to be some type of like a volatility tool, I would also ask that staff can put in the special education and housing incentive options so people can click and see how that can change it, as well as to the deputy mayor's point for if we do nothing. So I would be appreciative of that. Overall about this referendum, I think there's a few things that I've heard from members of the public that are important. First off, building new schools. We're constructing new schools, but we're not adding schools. In theory, we're consolidating from 6 down to 4 elementary schools, and people need to understand that that's cost efficient. And I don't think anyone up here would be pushing for something that's going to piss money out the window. I really don't, because it's getting hard to afford to live here. And at the same time, we want to be able to deliver the best education possible. And some things make really basic sense. It makes sense to have 4 cafeterias instead of 6, 4 libraries instead of 6, 4 gyms instead of 6. All of that makes fundamental sense. That saves us money when we consolidate. It's why we consolidated our high schools. We knew that utilizing those shared resources would be better for the taxpayers, and it'll be better for Enfield. I grew up in a neighborhood school. I attended Stowe. I was very sad when they consolidated back in 11, but at the same time, our town is different and our needs are different. And I have an attachment to the past just as much as anybody else, but we have to be proactive with the decisions we're making so that we're preparing education for the next generation of our kids. This is, as I think the deputy mayor and many other people have stated, it's really not an option. We have so much work to do here, and the educational conditions are just not good. They're not. And a lot of people have had conversations, oh, this building's 60, 70 years old. What does the age of the building matter? It's less of the age of the building, but what that building as it stands can provide for our students. Education, especially at the elementary level, probably more so than even the middle or high school level, which were done before, has changed even more fundamentally than any other sector of education. It's very, very different than the way that it used to be. Special education resources are significantly different. The types of supports and extracurriculars that are provided are significantly different. A lot has changed from that basic brick and mortar building that was constructed 60 years ago. And we have to recognize that the building envelope in itself has been noted by staff is starting to fail. Is that my understanding, Mr. Daigle? Yep. So JFK's building envelope wasn't failing. Our elementary schools are. We have instances at Hazardville Memorial where walls can fall down. Was that not the case at JFK, where walls going to fall down? Yeah, it is at Hazardville Memorial. So we cannot retain these buildings in the condition that they are. We have to do something. And this is the best proposal being put forward. I understand it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to put work in your car. You have to decide whether to do it. And sometimes, you know what? Buying a new car makes more sense than fixing what you have. And that's what we're going to deal with here today. So I'm proud to support this, and I look forward for it to go to referendum. And I think we've done a great job putting the facts out there, and I ultimately think it's up to the voters now to decide whether it's in their interest to do that. But I encourage them to do so. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Zanoni. Any additional questions, comments? Hang on, Councilor Crissati, I'll get to you, Councilor Hall.
All right, first of all, I'm going to take a few minutes to speak about the upcoming referendum. First of all, being on this committee and being involved with this particular project since 2022. Here we are 4 years later, going to every single meeting. This group right here and all the committee members are to be commended for the hard work and all of the time and effort and all of our meetings that we've had, and then we had the community conversations. All this information that is being reiterated tonight has been reiterated every single meeting that we have been attending and broadcasted and publicly put out there on the website. This information here is nothing new. This has been out there for months. The information that we received today is very important because if we do get these incentives, this 89 million has the potential to drop down to 80 million with the potential to drop down to 55 million. This $89 million figure that's out there is a respectable and financially fit. These guys know what they're talking about. They've been involved with many different projects. I've been involved with the high school, the middle school, and this project here. This is the most generational project that this town has ever encountered. And this is one great project that we should be supporting. As a current member of this council and a member of the pre-ref committee, I've been very fortunate to be part of this process reviewing the needs of our schools and our students. I want the residents of Enfield to know that myself, I have taken this responsibility very serious. I have asked questions, listened to the concerns of parents, educators, and looked carefully at what these projects mean for our community, not only today, but for years to come. At the end of the day, this is about children. Children. This is what we're talking about here. Future. We have an obligation to provide our students with safe, modern, and appropriate facilities where they can learn, grow, and succeed. That is especially important for our youngest students, and our students at Eagle Academy, whose educational needs require an environment designed to support their success. I also understand that this is a significant investment for Enfield taxpayers. Having sit in that seat and now serving on the town council, I know we have the responsibility to be stewards of taxpayer dollars. We cannot simply say yes to every project. We have to determine what is necessary, what's affordable, and what is the best long-term interest of our community. After being involved in this process, I believe this project meet that test. Those three, very important. This referendum is not simply about constructing or improving the buildings. It's the investment of our children, our schools, and the future of Enfield. And when I talked about generational, this is what we're talking about. Good schools are the most important foundations of a strong community. They help attract our families, our neighborhoods, and we're going to make Enfield a notch up. I encourage everyone in the community to take the time to really know about what this referendum is. Review the information, because there are facts that are out there. If anybody wants facts, if they don't believe what's up there, they can personally email me and I'll shoot you out the information. Ask questions and understand what's being asked to support here. This decision about priorities, about our commitment to our next generation, I believe Enfield always has been that community that comes together when it comes to children, and I believe that we should continue that tradition. I've been involved with a lot of school projects. I've been involved in education all of my life, going close to 50 years now. And this is the right thing to do. I'm going to be supportive of this, which I've always been supportive of, but I'm really going to be pushing forward for a yes and this. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hall, did you want to go now? And then I can go to Councillor Mangini after? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I just wanted to make a brief comment. I want to first thank the committee for all the hard work, tremendous amount of work that you've put in it, and the results are ever present. I also want to thank the public, the people that have come out physically and spoken with their opinions, and those individuals that tuned in and have opinions. I think it's extremely important that we listen to the public and how the voters feel. But again, there should really be, at this point in time, no question on whether we do need to move forward. We absolutely do need to move forward. And as far as the referendum, quite frankly, if we wait, the cost of this project is going to be far worse than what we're looking at right now. And for me, it's extremely important that we take care of our students, our faculty, for safety purposes and as far as aesthetics. So I certainly am going to be supporting the referendum and encouraging people to come out and vote yes for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hall?
So I do have a quick question for the architect. I'm sorry, I didn't think I did, but I do. Just because of something that Deputy Mayor mentioned, the renovation reimbursements from the state, the new rates for not built to new like we're doing, but the renovation percentage reimbursement, do you happen to know what that percentage is for the new numbers for this year?
I do. I just need to be able to read them.
I know
so
they're little.
For 2027, general construction reimbursement, the base reimbursement is 68.57, and new construction is 66.67.
Okay, so the renovation reimbursement for this year is higher than the actual new construction number? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, and historically, that is true.
Yes.
And there is, basically, the state laws suggest that as part of the grant application, you need to do an analysis of renovate as new versus new.
Right.
And if you can prove that new construction is the more economical approach, you're entitled to the higher reimbursement.
Right.
And that is something that we articulated as part of the grant application.
Right.
Yep.
So it's not 30% for a renovation. The reimbursement to the town is not 30%. I heard a number thrown out, and I just want to make sure we have correct numbers that we're talking about.
I can add a little bit of clarity to that. So these are base reimbursement percentages.
Right.
And the general construction is what we would consider renovate as new.
Right.
When you're talking about fixing your building, like a roof or windows,
Yep.
that percentage does drop because of the ineligible costs associated with certain
the
pieces.
certain pieces of it,
yeah, so your
right.
effective reimbursement rate could drop quite substantially depending on the project.
On the project
Yeah,
itself.
yeah.
The work that needs to be done is, if any of the work that needs to be done is due to maintenance, there is no reimbursement. So the walls, the structure, the ceilings, everything that's fallen down in these schools
Right.
will not be reimbursed.
Right. So
So it could
windows
be
and roofs,
30%.
like we passed a roof referendum not too long ago, and that was, we got a reimbursement for roofs. So I just.
Yes, but I think in reference to the 30%, what that means essentially is that right now, all of these projects, 100% of the cost is eligible for reimbursement.
Right.
We did take into account a portion, 2.5-ish% for ineligibles, because things are going to come up that are going to be ineligible.
Right.
But that's 2.5% of 100%.
Right.
If you go the other direction and start to just renovate these as pieces, mind you, you still have to go through a referendum here in Enfield
right.
per project at that point.
Yep.
The cost will be more.
Right.
Your reimbursement will be less because your reimbursement rate will stay the same.
Yeah.
Will be the 68 or the 66.
Right.
But the amount of reimbursement you're going to receive is going to be less because your eligible value is going to be less
Right.
in those instances.
Right.
So it's not that it goes from 68 to 30.
Right.
It's that the entire project eligibility gets significantly reduced from the 100%.
Depending on the project.
Correct.
Depending on what you're doing to
Exactly.
the building.
Yes.
So, yeah, I appreciate that. The other comment I think that's important to make here is that we are pushing a referendum out, and people have the right to know what the cost is to them, right? So I serve here as the fiscal body, and it's important for the taxpayer to know exactly what they're going to be paying for this, because it's not just the numbers that we see on this mill rate page, because this goes along with just the cost of this project. So it's not the increases that the school is going to get in their budget or the town's budget. So this just looks at this project. And these numbers are based on the lowest cost home in Enfield. So I think it's important to be accurate with what we're asking the voter to commit to and not try to say, you know, it's not a big number. I think we got to be very honest with the voter, and I think by pushing out some sort of chart, and I'm not adverse to putting out the piece where we get the extra 5%. I think those are important numbers to put out. I put that piece on it. I would put the 15% reimbursement for the special ed that we didn't figure in. I think all those should go on the chart. So I just think it's important for the voter to know exactly what the cost is to them. I think it incentivizes a good project, and it gives the resident a feeling that they're being heard and that they can count on those numbers that we've given them. So that's my only comment. I think part of what John and I's job is going to be to do in this next session is get that 5% for the housing and then for the space waivers. So that's something we will both work on next session. But I think tonight it's going to be good to push it out. I just want people to see what they're taking on for the numbers for this piece alone. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Allegro?
Thank you, Mayor. A lot has been said about our children this evening, and I'm really pleased to hear how concerned we are and about our schools. We've debated so many years about our elementary schools, but one of the things I really want to emphasize this evening about our children is specific age group. We are facing that eventually there'll be universal pre-K. We do not have the space for universal pre-K. We don't have a healthy and safe building for our 3- and 4-year-olds as they enter their school years. These are their developmental years. When they enter pre-K in our schools, their brains are still developing. Their bodies are still developing. And we need to give them the environment that will be safe and healthy and that they will thrive as their brains and their bodies are developing. This goes on for many years in their school, in their education. We have to remember, they are still developing, and we have to give them that environment that they need, that they will have a healthy environment that their brains and their bodies will be developing in. So thank you. I really appreciate so much talk about our children this evening, but I really, early childhood is very dear to me, and I always think about those children. So this is just a time that we really need to be aware of that, because it's coming, it's going to happen, and we need to be ready. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Allegro. Councilor Matthews?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am also in favor of this project. I do want to speak to Councilor Hall's comments about getting the information out there to the voters. At the last public hearing, that was actually suggested by quite a few of our residents. They had asked for a one-pager that we could maybe put in libraries, put up around town. I know that Scott Ryder, I think, is working with the committee trying to get some of that information out. I know that he is working on putting together some more simple facts so that people can really understand what this referendum is going to cost. People specifically asked, like, I want to know what this means for me and my wallet. So I know that genuine concern, absolutely, but I also want to commend you all because I know that you're already working on that. So I just wanted to go ahead and put that out there as well. One other thing that I wanted to just quickly mention was, our buildings and grounds has not been able to keep up with maintenance on any of our buildings. And I don't think that this is a time to even consider a Plan B, which isn't even really a Plan B, which is the whole patch and fix as we go and, end up costing millions, tens of millions of dollars over what this project alone is going to cost. This will also give us a plan when it comes to overcrowding, because eventually we're hoping this town will grow if we make the right choices, in the next coming years. Safety, of course, is a huge issue, and this also gives us a chance to put in place a maintenance plan and start right from the get-go on these new buildings and do it right this time so that we're not having this conversation again in the next 30, 40, 50 years. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any further discussion? Councilor Thomas.
I don't think it really matters if the 11 of us are for or against this project. It's for the voters to decide. I'm personally very for this project. I think it's time. I think our buildings are well beyond repair. But it really has to do with what Enfield wants and what the families want. And in the last public hearing, it was overwhelmingly abundantly clear that they want it, and I vote with what Enfield wants. So I am for tonight. I am for anything that helps Enfield. So thank you to the committee, and thank you everybody for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Thomas. Councilor Ungary.
Thank you. Just for the record, I want to say I support this project 100%, and I hope the community will too. We really can't afford not to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a couple of comments. I appreciate everyone's ability to ask their questions tonight and air their concerns. $89 million is a lot of money. It sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. $511 million is a lot of money. $89 million is 17% of $511 million. 17%. Enfield is going to be responsible for a maximum of 17% of this project. That's what that number means. 89 million. 17%. If we vote no, if the town votes no at this referendum, we will be responsible for 100% of more than $200 million, more than however many millions of dollars it costs to fix these buildings. I have heard a lot of, we can't afford to do this. Honestly, we can't afford not to do this. And I know that sounds like it's a cliche and people hate hearing it, but just look at the numbers, look at the facts. Somebody in the state of Connecticut is gonna get this money. Somebody is gonna get the school referendum money. And if we vote no, some other town is gonna get it. Our taxpayers are gonna pay those state and federal taxes to another town's benefit because that other town is going to have beautiful new schools for 17% or less of the cost, and Enfield is going to be sitting here paying 100% of all the cost it costs to repair these buildings. We literally, figuratively, and financially cannot afford not to pass this referendum. It's as simple as that. These numbers, I appreciate these, John. I do agree that it is important for taxpayers to have an idea of what this is going to cost them. I agree with Councilor Hall. I actually like the idea of if we don't do it, that number should be up on this calculation as well. The 55 million that we're gonna cross our fingers, if we get every incentive that we are eligible for, and we are eligible for both the space waivers, special education, and the housing benefits. The town of Enfield is eligible and we qualify for all of those incentives. If we get everything that we are qualified and eligible for, that number is gonna be $55, $56 million. I would love that number to go up on this calculation. But I also think there needs to be a little bit of explaining when we do that. These numbers up here don't show you the full picture, right? Although these numbers are only based on this referendum, these numbers look a little scary in year 10, 11, 12, right, from now. But that assumes that we pass along 100% of the cost to the individual taxpayers for that tax year. let's be honest, we don't do that. During a budget season, we don't pass along the entire increase to the taxpayers on every given year. We have concessions, we have deliberations, we give from one, we take from the other. We take from the fund balance to balance the budget to lower mill rates. So we don't pass along 100% of this cost to the taxpayer on every given year. So I do think that is also important for people to understand that I agree, these numbers may look scary in year 10 or 11 of the project, but we have to be willing to know what this is going to give us, and that those numbers may not be the actual numbers, okay? We could refinance debt like we just passed a resolution to do a month or two ago. That will bring these numbers down. So I think that is also important for people to understand. I've also heard, fix what you have, fix as we go, pay as you go. So people understand we have, and I don't know the exact number, John, I know you'll correct me if I'm way off, it's about a $850,000 max per our charter that we can spend on a project per year. Do you know what $850,000 is going to do for these schools? Nothing. Nothing. We can't, because anytime we would need to do a project, whether it's, hey, let's just fix the windows at Hazardville Memorial School, guess what? Got to go to a referendum for it. Let's just fix the ceiling in Parkman. Oh, guess what? Got to go to a referendum for it. So the argument that we have to just fix as we go and not do a referendum, also, it sounds like it may make sense to some, but it's not reality. You can't do it. $850,000 is the max we can do on a project per year without going to the voters. So I appreciate that everyone up here has spoken in favor of this. I am absolutely in favor of this. I hope and pray that it happens to pass in November. I know we will continue to do all that we are able to do as residents here to ensure that happens. I appreciate all of the hard work that everyone has put in, and I very much look forward to voting yes in November on this. And so if there's no further comments or questions, we're going to go to roll call. Please.
Okay. Councilor Allegro.
4.
Mayor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crusati.
4.
Councilor Hall.
4.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Matthews.
4.
Councilor Pisner.
4.
Deputy Mayor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Thomas.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Zanoni.
4.
11 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Item 2B, resolution to submit to referendum the appropriation and bonding resolution for the expansion and renovation of Hazardville Memorial Elementary School, Prudence Crandall Elementary School, Parkman Elementary School, and Barnard Elementary School, and for the conversion of Eli Whitney Elementary School into the Eagle Academy Therapeutic Day School, and to authorize the issuance of bonds or notes of the town in the amount not to exceed $89 million, with the balance funded by grants and other available funds, tabled 8/24/2026. If I could get a motion.
So moved.
Oh.
Motion to waive the reading?
To waive the reading.
I did. I just read the resolution. So if I could get a motion to waive the reading?
Yeah.
Motion to waive the reading.
Motion made and seconded. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Motion made.
Second.
And seconded. Any discussion on this? All right, roll call, please.
Councilor Allegro.
4.
Mayor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crusati.
4.
Councilor Hall.
4.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Matthews.
4.
Councilor Pisner.
4.
Deputy Mayor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Thomas.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Zanoni.
4.
11 in favor, 0 against. The resolution passes.
Thank you. Item 3, adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made, seconded, all in favor. 11 in favor, none against. We are adjourned.